Hey, it's Aaron. This video is going to be about making an acoustic guitar with mostly hand tools in my basement. So I'd made a guitar about 5 years ago or so with much less tools. Took me about a year to do, buying stuff as I went along. It turned out well. There was mistakes along the way. There were some things I decided I needed, but it always kept in the back of my head of doing another one, doing it better with what I learned. So I had a little more time on my hands and I'm ready to give it a go. Now I had started this about a month in before I decided to start videoing it. I'm going to do a little backtracking, go over where I'm at. I'll reference any other links. I use some blogs and some YouTube videos to help me along the way for some more modern ways of doing things. But ultimately, my biggest resource was this book, Guitar Making, Tradition and Technology by Cumpiano and Nadelson. I'll leave a link for that as well. I'll be backtracking a little bit at the beginning, but I hope you enjoy the video. The first thing I did was order the back and the side pieces online. I had a set of red cedar that I planned to use for the top. I ended up having to order Engelmann spruce, but I'll get into that later. Next, I built a basic shooting board. Clamped it down. You can find information online about that. I'll leave a link. It's also very detailed in the book. I then folded the book matched pieces on top of each other like closing a book, put them on the shooting plane, clamped them down, and used a Stanley planer to run along the edges to get a perfect seam between the two and keep shooting along the board until the sides are perfectly seamless. Next, I tried to find an easier way to plane the top, sides, and back. Ended up buying this tool from StewMac. It goes in a drill press, create a little board to put it on and run it under this until you're playing to the thickness you want. Didn't work for me. I had a lot of problems. I think my drill press is not powerful enough. So ended up going back to the good old Stanley planer. Now, once you've got the plates perfectly aligned, you'll need to join them together. I can't remember what method I used last time, but tried a new one this time, and it was the tape method. It's super easy and simple, and it worked great. Essentially, you're just propping one side up, aligning the other side, tape it down, flip it over, and it creates sort of tent. Push it down, and that'll create a really nice seal there. Tape it, or glue it, of course, and then tape it across again. Super easy, and that worked great for me. I wish I would have took video of it before, but I'll leave a link to Christopher Pollock's channel where I learned how to do this. Next, we're cutting out the shape of the top and the back. I use this Japanese handsaw. Works great. Hand sand any spots where it's rough. I try to do as much with hand tools as I can, mainly because I don't have a lot of power tools. Also, an electric sander was used quite a bit. For the sound hole in the rosette channel, it's as basic as it gets. I got a popsicle stick with a pin in one side and a pin in the other. Put the pin in the center of the circle and figure out what the distance is. For the sound hole, I think it was 3 inches, and just circle it around. There I get my lines, and then I go in with the Dremel tool, get it out proper. Same with the rosette channel. I did also buy the rosette online. You can make your own. It's a lot of work, but I found one that fit perfectly with what I was going for, so I decided just to buy it as is. And lastly, for bending the sides, I made this monstrosity, which is basically a pipe mounted to some boards. Mount it to the table, put a cheap Harbor Freight heat gun in there, get this nice and hot, use a water spray bottle, just slowly working out the sides. I hate bending the sides. It went well, but there was some cracking along the way. Nothing I couldn't fix. It would be nice to have a professional side bender. Didn't want to spend money on that. Other than that, tool I relied on most is a Dremel with various drill bits and sanding bits. I recommend getting a good quality Dremel. I tried a cheap one before and it didn't work great, so I got some specialized stuff. A sander from Stuart McDonald to get the contour on the neck and the frets. Also a fret file from them as well. Here's the Granadillo for the back, which I just cut out. Add a little water to it, see how it might look after being finished. Granadillo is a dense, fine-textured hardwood from Central America. It's not a true rosewood, but the tap tone sounds great, and it has almost a bell-like quality. So for the top of my guitar, I chose Engelmann spruce. I actually chose red cedar only because I had an extra set. I bought a new planing tool, which didn't work out so well. So I ended up with half a set of red cedar. So far, I love the way it looks. I think it's going to balance out the Granadillo well with softer tones of this, and I think the look will be a lot better. Finishing touches, I have abalone rosette here, which is kind of going to be consistent with the rest of the guitar. Even though I was frustrated and things didn't work out well with the cedar, I think this is going to be a better fit for the guitar. Sometimes good things happen for a reason, and I'll use that for something else. I chose to buy pre-shaped braces from Stuart McDonald for a Dreadnought this time. You can buy a whole block and chisel out all the pieces. I did this before, but I wanted to save a little time here. Next is the making of the tail block and the head block. It's pretty straightforward here, but the important part is the head block needing to account for the arch in the guitar. I threw together a head block fixture to help keep in place, and you can also make a shoe to hold the guitar to the workboard, but I didn't use that this time. Alright, I'm about a month in, and I've just finished bending the sides. Montana's very dry, so I had to move fast in getting this part done. I still had to fight against a lot of cracking, but after a lot of sanding, this should work out fine. I bought the purfling pre-slotted. I attached it to the top of the guitar. I won't be adding it to the back till later because I still need to cut that down. This is a trick I learned from one of the vlogs I was watching. Basically, you need to trim down the side. Top block is going to be an inch shorter than the bottom block. I don't need to trim anything off the bottom. It's going to be wider or deeper. Most of my trimming is going to be as I gradually get to the top block. Piece of wood here. And you drill a hole. Well, first of all, I have to raise this by an inch, which is how much shorter top block is, which should be right where the bottom piece goes. You go along with the pencil all the way around till you get to the top where the block is an inch shorter. And that should be a good guide for your cutting on both sides. Alright, so I sawed the first half down. All in all, it came out pretty good. My sawing was a little rough, but the little jig worked to draw around it. I gotta cut down the other side. I found it easier to put little guidelines in there as I go along cutting down the sides. The little pieces will break off, and it's made it easier for me to saw it and keep the angle I'm going for. From here on, it's building the box. Just about to trim down the back and put it on. Got the sides on. Got a lot of sanding to do. Top's on. Now I'll just have to trim this down and attach the back. Wrapped up the guitar, let it sit overnight. That's putting the back on. It's not pretty. I don't recommend this configurement, but I was just using what I had. I think it should hold on well though. So I'm gonna unwrap it and hope everything is good to go. All right, so it looks like everything turned out good. Have a box. Don't see any gaps. Getting ready to just sand it down now and start doing all the finishing. All right, now onto the neck. Now this is another part where I cut some corners. I'd had a neck from before I'd ordered years ago and never got to use it. Obviously building it from a blank takes a lot more work. Still requires a lot of work, but I was short on time for this, so this did help speed along the process. The neck I got is a typical bolt-on. In my opinion, this is a lot less work and more manageable than a dovetail joint. You can always remove it. There's no need to glue it on. I also needed to order the 4mm hot rod truss rod from StewMac to go with this neck. For the fingerboard, I had a rosewood unslotted piece that I had ordered for a previous guitar, which I'll get into. The guitar fret intervals can be a little tricky, but it's laid out pretty well in the book for the measurements. To give an idea, this is one I was working for a cigar box guitar. Basically, they get smaller as you go on, and you have to get the measurements right for that. And then cut the slots for the frets. Fret wire comes like this. You just hit them in. This is another tool I got. It's a jeweler's hammer from Harbor Freight. Costs like $5. Fret nipper. You can use other things, I guess, but this has a flush edge I got from StewMac years ago. It's a little worse for wear, but it works. And then also just a straight edge ruler when you get the frets in. Put them on there. Make sure it's lined up. In my case, it still needs a lot more touching up as you go. Oh, and previously, forgot to mention, cabinet scraper. Very important tool. Very important to keep sharp. Videos on this, but burnishing rods, you can use screwdrivers or other things, but keep it sharp. Have a mahogany neck and put a piece of granadillo, sand down and get looking nicer. Tried a new shape for the top. Don't know how I feel about it yet, but the fretboard is another story. Tried to repurpose a old Silvertone guitar from the 50s. It was somewhat cheaply built. Just want to see if I could rebuild it. Didn't work out. So I was actually able to reuse this, which works out nice because it has the abalone inlays. You know, I spent a lot of time really honing the frets. The guitar itself, still around. I stained it green. Ultimately, the problem was this thing had a steel rod in here, but not a truss rod, and so you couldn't adjust the tension. I just couldn't get a good. But it's fun. I learned a lot. I was able to reuse that fretboard. Just spent a lot of time on. I can still use it for parts. Got the old bridge on here. For the detail work, doing the logo and just other fine detail work, I use this Grobit jeweler saw. It's worked well for me. Here I'm just sawing out the channel for the end graft. It's gonna sit in there. It's made of Wenge. So now I'm doing the routing for the binding. Bought a special tool from StuMac, a routing jig for a Dremel. Just make sure I keep it really tight. I stop every half a minute or so, tighten everything up. Looks like the channel is good, but it seems to fit in nicely. Here's the rough fitting of the bindings before glue down. Everything looks pretty tight. Just gotta finish up one more, glue them all in. All right, time to attach the neck. I did this a little differently before. See how it works out this way. I think I did the neck before and then added the fretboard all at once. Here's the guitar all sanded down and ready for finishing. I'll share which finishing products I'm going to use. First, got to glue on the bridge. Probably one of the most important parts. I've got the saddle here. Just need to get the right distance. I bought this Stuart McDonald Saddle-matic and make sure that it goes to the 12th fret. You know the distance. I already set this up, so that's right there, laying on the 12th fret. And then you just flip it around, find where you need to put the saddle. So it should be right about there. I'm gonna tape around it so I know where to glue it on. I bought this pre-made already. I didn't want to spend the time doing it. I like the way it looks. So I just thought it was an unnecessary step to make it. This is my very primitive clamping method. Try to figure out what would work. I didn't want to buy an expensive jig to glue this down. It should give pressure on the end wings here, then the overall pressure clamping this down. There's enough glue squeeze out that I feel it'll glue it down pretty good. I may pull it off when it sets a little bit just to double check the measurement and then clamp it down again before it fully sets. For my finish, I'm first going to use this DAP wood filler to fill the grain in on the back and sides, and then finish with this True Oil gunstock finish. Thin it down, 3-to-1 ratio with the mineral spirits. And I should do about 15 or so coats of that. When dry, every 2 or 3 coats, just clean it off, wipe it down, get the dust off. And to apply the finish, I'm just going to cut up some old t-shirts and bed sheets and create a rubber pad. The finishing is coming along nicely. It's about 10 coats of the True Oil with mineral spirits. Probably have about another 5 to go. Steel wool sanding in between about every couple coats. Overall, I'm really happy with how the finishing is going. The wood filler wasn't quite what I expected. I thought it would go on clear and it came out more white. It looks really cool for the end graft, but there's other spots in the guitar where I don't like how it turned out. Okay, I've got my final coats on. Looks pretty good. A little bit of roughness, just barely, so I'm gonna try this Mega Yar's Ultimate Compound. I don't know if this is conventional, but I'm gonna give it a try. It says it's clear coat safe, so we'll see how that works. Gonna put a little feed and wax on the fretboard. It's looking a little dried out, so this stuff works pretty good. Pegs are in. Time to string her up and hope for the best. Well, I thought I was getting close to the end of my guitar build. Everything's together, looking pretty good. Problem is, play open chords, but anything above that, it's major buzz. So I tried replacing this saddle with a little higher saddle nut, and it helped a little bit, and tried adjusting the truss rod, which helped a little bit, but ultimately I think I'm gonna have to raise the bridge. Remove this, probably just add another piece of hardwood underneath, shape it to the same size. Hopefully that'll get it up enough to give it better angle so it's not hitting the frets here. I did try filing these down too. So yeah, still got some ways to go. Okay, now I'm gonna attempt to remove the bridge using a heat gun and this tool. Voila, bridge is off. So just gonna need to clean this up, sand it down, attach it to here, and cut it out. Sand this down evenly, sand it here, and reattach. Okay, bridge is back on. Just have to do some final finishing touches, sand down the nut a little bit, and fix some problem frets. Well, it's now just about the end of October. I started this project back in April, took some time off in the summer. I'm finally done. Got a guitar that looks good and sounds good. Happy with the way it turned out. Don't think I'm going to be starting another one anytime soon. Hallelujah, it's done. I hope you liked this video. Please hit like and subscribe if you did.